Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Back for the first time in a long time, but it's football season. Riding with Ryder, back for another season. Michael Ryder, former Montana State Bobcat player, coach, and color commentator. Now just talking with us about the Bobcats each week. What's up, man? How you doing? You're in Bozeman. You're in God's country. What's going on? What are you doing there?
Yeah, doing great, man. Here for some work meetings and a chance to get a little bit of golf in with some clients today. It's beautiful. So, a little bit of work and some play, and it always feels good to get back to Bozeman. It's beautiful. I forget how beautiful the Gallatin Valley is.
It's funny because I was thinking of the other day. Because Montana State has a new color commentator on the radio, and it's one of your former teammates, one of my favorite guys, Leo Davis. I think it's going to be perfect for him. He had a couple one-liners his first time out that were just so funny. But he's such a unique character, man. I'm happy he's in the booth because I think he's going to bring a different flavor than probably anybody that's ever had that job before.
Yeah, absolutely. Leo's a good guy, and as a Billings guy and a former teammate, I was rooting for him. I didn't get a chance to listen to the broadcast at all, but I'm sure he did a fantastic job. And he has got a kiddo on the way, so they're nice enough to let me come and do a game here. I'll do the home opener, the Gold Rush game, which will be fun, getting back in the booth. But, Leo, I have no doubt he'll crush it.
He was a great story. That it's so funny because we're going to get the offensive line of the current Bobcats. Like the offensive line when you were playing was like half guys that were supposed to be great offensive linemen, like Alex Terrian and Conrad Burbank and guys like that. And then a bunch of guys that came there to play completely different positions. They just ended up at offensive line, like Leo and Casey Dennehy, and guys that just made it happen, man. They made it work. But those were fun units to cover.
Yeah, totally. I think you'd probably love those guys that know their offensive linemen. Don't get me wrong, the defensive lineman to O lineman transition's great. That it works out well, but boy, there's something to say about those guys that own that O-line mentality, and they know it, and they know who they are. And I think those guys right now in the trenches for MSU, they know who they are, and boy, they just keep plugging holes. One guy gets hurt, next guy jumps in. It's pretty remarkable.
Well, let's start there then, because, I mean, to me, other than the great rally and an FBS win and all these things, the number one thing that stood out to me about Montana State's 35-31 win over New Mexico is that Marcus Ware is going to play on Sundays. Now that he showed people that he can play guard. I mean, he was already going to get a shot at tackle, but there's not a lot of 6'2.5" tackles. There is a lot of 6'2.5" guards, and now that he's got a film of mauling up FBS guys. I mean, he was the key to that whole thing. They reshuffled the whole offensive line. We'll get into that and how impressive it is, but I thought when it came down to it, backs against the wall, what'd they do? They ran right behind number 76. He's an impressive player to watch.
Yeah, he is, and a fun guy to cover. I mean, he's got a great personality, and he's a smart kid, smart football player, great personality, and you could tell, man, he translates all that strength, right? He was on one of those freak lists in college football, and the guy, he can clearly carry that over from squats and cleans onto the football field, and it's cool to see him paving the way. And again, being another Billings guy at Billings Central, fun to watch that, but. Boy, the backs were against the wall, and they lean into exactly what they do best. And I think you got to give a lot of credit to a team that just said, look, down 17 points 2 times, but found a way to continue to believe. And truly, that's what I would expect of that group. They're a senior-laden crew. They played a ton of football, that crew. And so to see them continue to battle back and do what they did against a team that, quite frankly, doesn't really know how to win yet. I think Bronco Mendenhall will get things going down there. He's a great coach. But when the backs were against the wall, they leaned into who they were, ran the football. That was an awesome 2-minute drive. Coaches love to see that. So all in all, a lot to be impressed by, but certainly a ton to fix for that Bobcat team.
When you were playing and when you were coaching, who could squat the most? Because I'm just trying to imagine a guy squatting 650 pounds like they say that Weir can squat. I mean, that's a crazy amount of weight.
Yeah, unbelievable. The guys I think of, we had some O linemen. Mike Person was one. He's
Yeah.
probably in that range. But we had some backers. Clay Bignell, he could squat a house. Him and Lexi Grosslock. Those are two guys that I think of that they could squat a house probably in the 550, 525 range. But Person was one of those 600-pound squatters. I don't know about 625. That's unbelievable. And then look, I think squat's awesome, but to me the most impressive is that clean. What do they say? Clean 325 or hang clean 325.
385, bro.
Three. I
385.
mean, I mean to hold 385, right? Like that. That's unbelievable. To me, that shows like some twitch and some power, and I think that's even more of an impressive stat than the back squat.
Person told me such a good story one time. He said when he first started playing for the 49ers, that's when Justin Smith was still playing. And
Mm,
they used to, like, if they had a road trip there where there was like multiple East Coast teams, they would go like find a college campus somewhere out east and to stay there for the week rather than going
yep.
from San Francisco back to the East Coast
Yep.
twice. And he said that every time they had one of those 2-week road trips, Justin Smith would want to go to whatever the biggest college was there, and he would walk in and he would ask, "What's the squat record in this weight room?" And the strength coach would say, "Oh, whatever." And he'd say, "Okay, great. I'm going to break it today, the day after a game." And that person's like, "That's when I knew that these guys are a different breed than what I actually am."
Oh, and he totally was, right. Big defensive
Oh
tackle
yeah,
out of I think he played football at Missouri, college ball, and he was an animal. He had a screw loose for sure. Gosh, those are good stories.
yeah, man. Well, let's talk about the way the Cats did this because they look bad in the first quarter. I mean, they looked out of
Yep,
sorts. The play
yep,
calling was really disjointed. They had turnovers, which I thought part of that, like Malott took a lot of heat for that for the fumbles, but like the first one, to me, was a complete product of one, your senior center's out. You don't call the
yep,
blitz right. He got
yep.
blindsided. He didn't know he didn't have his protections right because he didn't have the guy that he usually relies on. So I do give him a little bit of grace there. But then they figured it out, man. And there's so many different details we can get into, but what'd you just think of them being able to stay in it? Because it's tough to be on the road like that and play so bad and then not get down about it and somehow figure out a way to rally back and win.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you touched on some of that stuff, but it really was a culmination of a lot of different things. You're on the road against an FBS team. You've got a new offensive coordinator, Tyler Walker, who's been around. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. But there's still, I mean, that's a transition in itself. Um, and then just trying to get. I mean, it's the first game of the year, which is always interesting. It's never as sharp as you'd like. It doesn't matter how good you are. We're going to see the same thing tonight. We're going to see the same thing for North Dakota State and Colorado. There's going to be some first game stuff. It doesn't matter what no team's immune to it. It's just how can you react. Um, and then I also think about the offensive line, late plugins. With Justice Perkins being out, JT Reed on the bench as well. You put that all together, and you can see why things were a little bit clunky. And then defensively, I think they were just kind of feeling each other out. The Bobcat D was kind of feeling the New Mexico offense out. They were a little bit clunky themselves. So all in all, those first games, they're just never all that sharp. But again, I'm impressed by what happened when you're down 17 points. I think you get some backbone, you bow your neck, and you find a way to just claw your way back into it.
I thought that the way that they were trying to throw the ball early and often was kind of weird. It was almost like they wanted to prove to the world that, hey, we figured out our passing game. We're going to get it going with the passing game.
Yep.
But it was different
Yep.
passing game than they usually do. Like, a lot of times they do the RPO stuff and Tommy's rolling around or they throw that back shoulder fade. This was like Malott dropping in the pocket. He's trying to make reads. He's going through all his reads. I don't know. I think Tommy Malott, I actually stand up for Tommy way more than a lot of people do. I think that he's actually a better quarterback than people give him credit for in terms of actually throwing the ball. But I also think that, there's guys at the top level of football that are not a 7-step drop, go through 4 reads type of guys that are making $50
100%.
million a year. You know what I mean? Like Jalen Hurts
Yep.
doesn't go
Yep.
through 7-step drop, read 4 guys. He's rolling all
No,
around and doing RPO
no way.
stuff. So I just thought it was weird. It was like they were trying to prove to the world. But then it was so funny when they got in the 2-minute and they're not overthinking it. They're not trying to make Tommy do all this stuff
I
that he
know.
do. just boom, he's throwing darts, get the ball out of his hands quick. He's
Yep.
like 8 of 9 on the 2-minute drill.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because it's you want somebody to develop as a passer. So where's the middle ground of like, look, there are some times you get yourself into a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and 10. All right, you got to find a way to, stay in the pocket, make a few, maybe half half field reads, things like that, and then be able to bail if you need to. And that's good, but I think you got to find a way to combine that with what you're really good at. Tommy is going to be the RPO guy. Get him out of the perimeter, move the pocket where needed. And so I'm with you. Is he going to be the true drop back guy? No, but you just got to find the opportunities where it does fit. And I think we'll continue to see that develop. He's never going to be the 5-step, 7-step drop guy. And I don't think we want him to be, if you're a Bobcat fan. And so it'll be interesting to see how he continues to develop. They didn't really throw any fade balls or anything, some 50-50 balls down the sideline, which I think you got to be able to do that. And I think they've got some guys out on the perimeter that can win them. The thing that I want to see though is some of these the center field read stuff, some option routes. I think Taco is such a weapon, and I don't even think he had a catch last week. And you got to find a way to give him the football, and so that may be 3-step stuff, option reads in the in the center of the field. And I would look to see more of that this week to try and dust off some of that to get really into a rhythm in the pass game, because we know they can run the ball and they're going to continue to do it. You have to do it late in the season, but you also got to be able to throw the ball here and there. So how does it fit Tommy just to develop a touch? But you got to stick to what he's good at, and that is some of the RPO, moving the pocket, getting him on the move.
Sammy and Kim, who's a former Montana All-American, who's doing some analysis stuff for us now at Skyline Sports. He does these great film breakdowns, but he broke down this film, and I thought it was so good what he was pointing at. He said, hey, New Mexico in this 3-3-5 stack defense, they're going to try to bring the heat, 7 out of 10 times. That's what the defense is all about. But also when they show you no safeties in the whole picture, you have zero coverage. You have to have something that is a check down for that. And that's where Taco Dollar comes in, right? Like you got to have a hot route where it's just, oh, boom, you just go right to the middle of the field, hit him. Just get the ball out of your hands. I thought I think that's something they'll see pretty easily, though, and I think that's something they'll add probably pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, and you love those matchups, right? You get Taco Dollar on a safety. I mean, I've been there. That's a good feeling. It's hard. It's hard to be in the middle of the field playing coverage on a slot receiver one-on-one, and typically that slot receiver wins. And Taco is gifted. I mean, we saw it. They attacked Riley Nort a couple times, and some of the other safeties. I think they got Dowler a little bit. Caden. They had a good receiver down there at New Mexico, and they caught those guys sleeping just a touch. So look to see more of that. I bet we see it here Saturday night.
Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
So last question on the offensive stuff, because the way Montana State runs the ball is the envy of basically everybody besides South Dakota State and North Dakota State. And I would actually argue the Cats run the ball better than anybody in the country, period, right now. So that's, if you can do that, that is a huge advantage you're going to have over everybody. If you can say we're going to get 350 yards every single game, that's a huge advantage against anybody and everybody you're going to play. Yet, you're not going to be able to get over the top against like the two teams that have been standing in front of you for the last 7 years unless you can throw the ball. So how do you balance it if you're the coaching staff?
Yeah. I think it's games like this where you got to get some consistency and some confidence in the pass game. And like we said, Tommy has to develop. He has to continue to grow as a passer. And I think he has. I don't think he gets enough credit for the development that he has made from year one as a starter into now, because he has developed. But I think it's reps, it's confidence. He's got the weapons. But at the end of the day, it really is kind of a conundrum, because you're like, boy, We ran for 355 yards against an FBS team. We want to impose our will and run the football, and so but need to be able to throw it, from time to time. And so I think they'll continue to get some confidence here in these early games, and look for them to probably lean into trying to throw the football more, while also running it. And I think as you head into conference play, they'll probably have more confidence with, hopefully Utah Tech, and then at home against Maine, and then Mercyhurst. I think you do have three pretty good games to try and get into a rhythm in the pass game.
How about just the reshuffling of the offensive line? Because when Perkins went down in the scrimmage, I thought, man, that's the only injury that could be worse for Montana State is Tommy Malott. But and Perkins
Yeah.
might be as equal, but then they proved that maybe not, because they have so much position versatility. I just thought it was amazing that they started 5 guys at different spots, first time ever as a unit, and they got 2 guys at tackle that have never played, hardly played at all in college games, and they still go out and average 8 yards a carry against an FBS team on the road. It's just
Yeah.
it's unbelievable at this point.
Yeah, you got to give credit to that coaching staff. It is by design. Those guys do get put in positions and practice, and they do rotate. And I think the expectation comes with, like, look, you're going to learn all positions, especially on the interior, right? Like, you need to understand what it's like to play center, playing guard. It's not necessarily that you want your center bumping out to tackle. That's not really what I'm saying, but you do have the flexibility to bounce around, and they practice it and they emphasize it. And credit to Coach Al Johnson and doing a really good job getting those guys prepared.
When it comes to the defensive side, did you see much different with Bobby Daly calling the plays? I mean, did it look that different? I thought it looked relatively same. I actually thought the defense deserves a lot of credit for holding New Mexico scoreless in that second half too.
Yeah, and boy, that quarterback of theirs, he was slippery. You saw a few flashes of it, and you're like, boy, that he could get out of hand pretty quickly. I think you got to give credit to Bobby. Looks pretty similar in terms of design and things. I thought I would have seen a little bit more pressure. I think there were some time blitzes that were good, some delayed blitzes, and some key moments. A secondary blitz from the safety, but all in all, guys look to be in a good position. Not a ton of opportunities to rush the passer, so didn't get a chance to see Greeby get on an edge, attack half a man. There were some few opportunities that I would have liked to see guys get home, but again, that is an FBS team that held their own pretty well. But I think all in all, defensively looked good. I think they tackled decent for a first game. That's always kind of a hard thing to measure. And I think all in all, they're in a pretty good spot as they head into the second game.
And you mentioned this upcoming schedule, and I think that's why figuring out a way to pull that game out in New Mexico in the last 5 minutes is so big for them, because now they got 3 straight home games. They're going to be favored by 4+ touchdowns in all of them. They get a lot of guys on the field that can work a lot of stuff out. There's not going to be nearly the pressure. So now all of a sudden, you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch or whatever, but now you're thinking, okay, we can get into October on a roll now after we basically went down to New Mexico and I don't want to say stole one because they were favored, but figured out a way to get it done.
But stole one. I mean, they totally did, right? And something that we didn't even touch on, you're down 17 points and 2 turnovers, big turnovers, and stopped 3 times on 4th down. That is not a recipe to beat an FBS team. I just remember going into those, and you're like, we need to play pretty darn perfect to get it done. And so they did kind of steal one. Now, all that to say, I'm with you. I had that same thought. Like, you stole one early on against an FBS team. You're home for 3 straight home games. You actually got a bye week in the middle of those. So on the health side could be really helpful. So by the time you hit October and that Idaho game is circled, you should be pretty primed and ready to head into a really, in my opinion, winnable conference schedule. They do have some tough games, but they should be in position A to get some guys back. I don't know what the timeline is on Julius Davis, on Drew Pallador, on Perkins, but they've got some guys that hopefully they can get back. And by the time October hits, you're full strength or mid-October, and you should be ready to play some championship football.
Mike Ryder here on the Big Sky Breakdown and the Skyline Sports YouTube channel. Riding with Ryder, presented in part by Town Pump. Town Pump's keeping us fueled up all football season long. No matter where you're at in Montana, there's a Town Pump near you. Thanks for doing it, man. Really appreciate it. Good to see you, and we'll talk next week. But thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, likewise, Colter. Appreciate you, man.
There's always a party in Montana, whether you're going to a wedding, a football game, a concert. Montana Party Bus can get you there safe and will take you anywhere in Montana. You can relax with friends in style, luxury, and safety. Western Montana based for local and regional travel within Montana borders. Montana Party Bus is great for both large and small groups with a capacity of up to 30 guests. If you want to elevate your event, call them anytime, 406-200-8096. You can also visit mtpartybus.com. Travel anywhere in Montana in style with the Montana Party Bus.